Hello everyone. It's time for a live look at the astrology. My name is Katie Sweetman, and this is your look at the astrology for February 12th through 18th, 2024. We have a lot to go over this week. We've got a couple of big changes. Normally these would be run-of-the-mill changes, but because Pluto is now in Aquarius, Mars and Venus going into Aquarius means that for the first time in 2 centuries, yes, 2 centuries, we will at least have Mars and Venus in Aquarius with Pluto. So something that you were hearing me talk about last week is that even when Pluto was in Aquarius last year, we had that 3-month preview. We never had the personal planets alongside Pluto in Aquarius. So we're starting to maybe see that there's a shift, there's a transformation. Maybe you have no idea what I'm talking about, but if you're watching live, please say hello and let me know how you're doing. How are you feeling the energy? Do you feel Pluto in Aquarius? And maybe you're like, I have no idea what you're talking about, Katie. And for those that do not know who I am, my name is Katie Sweetman, and I'm an astrologer and psychic medium located here in New York City area, and every week we gather live to look at the astrology. And you hear me say, every week the astrology is 50%. You are the other 50%. Do not forget about you. So that said, we're coming off of an Aquarius new moon. So just a few days ago on Friday, February 9th, we had an Aquarius new moon. It was the 10th for other parts of the world. And so we're in a new lunar month. A new lunar month that takes us to the sign of Aquarius. Aquarius is the second to last zodiac sign, which means we are starting to get to the end of the zodiac. And when we start to get to the last 4 signs of the zodiac, it's not about the personal anymore. It's about something bigger than the individual. We start to look out into the world. We start to travel and explore and to learn. We develop a sense of duty and responsibility. We build our external lives, our worldly lives. Get to Aquarius, it's about friends and community, society, humanity, social issues, social causes. And so these are big, broad strokes, even though friendship and community is not necessarily a big, broad stroke like a social issue or social cause. But it's for us to start to connect to what is the role of friends and community or society, humanity, or social issues and social causes in our lives. That's sort of looking at a new moon period or the lunar month and how that each and every one of us will live this time differently. That energy with the new moon a few days ago had a lot of interesting energy. Number one, it foreshadowed this new era. I know that that's a big thing to say, but we are in a new era now that Pluto is in Aquarius. Pluto has not been in Aquarius apart from a little dip last year since the 1780s and 90s. You heard me correctly. So this is not something that happens very often, and it's like looking at the clock and seeing one of the slower moving hands on the clock change hours. So that happened on January 20th, so just a few weeks ago. But maybe we needed something to activate the energy. We had the Aquarius new moon on February 9th. That sort of, in a way, brings us to Pluto's time in Aquarius. And then we had Mercury last week. We had Mercury go into Aquarius on February 5th. Mercury is a personal planet. And then tomorrow, February 13th, Mars will go into Aquarius, followed by Venus in Aquarius on February 16th. And you may be thinking, what does this have to do with me? I'm not an Aquarius. I don't know. I don't have any planets in Aquarius. And it's something that comes up, and it makes sense because a lot of our understanding of astrology, not everybody, but a lot of our understanding of astrology from a cultural element is sun sign astrology. And I'm not here to dig on sun sign astrology. In fact, I think there's some good stuff there when done well. But sometimes a lot of the cultural veneer of astrology can sometimes gloss over the depths of each of the 12 signs and maybe the deeper meanings of each of the 12 signs. And I want you all, and this is something that, maybe Aquarius and how we're in the shift of eras right now, and we're in a new time, and is this the age of Aquarius? I do not know. That's a whole other topic for a whole other time. But we're in this shift of consciousness, a shift of consciousness of humanity, and that includes how we think about astrology. And that astrology isn't just a sun sign, it's all the signs, because at the exact moment that you're born, even if you don't know your exact birth time, somewhere that information exists, even if it's in somebody's memory, that exact moment creates a shape. It creates a chart. And maybe you've seen your astrology chart, maybe you're like, I have no idea what this means. That's where I come in. I'm a professional astrologer. But my point is that that is your space to live. And that space, astrology, time and space, that space grows and expands as you grow and expand. But we don't know the setting of this space without the rising sign. And the rising sign can't be calculated without the exact birth time. In the absence of that, and that's why when you listen to my horoscopes, maybe you only know your sun sign and you get good information from it, because we're looking at your life from the perspective of the sun, and the sun is a very important point in our personal astrology. But I would love for you all to start to spread out and to see yourself as all of the 12 signs. And so this is what comes up from time to time. Somebody's like, I don't have anything in Aquarius, I don't have any planets in Aquarius, or fill in the blank, whatever sign that you have. And so I say it in astrology speak, and maybe that's where I'm doing this wrong. Aquarius governs a part of your life. And maybe you're scratching your head like, what do you mean Aquarius governs part of my life? So I want you all in your heads to draw a circle. And that circle, not unlike a clock face, is divided into 12 sections. These 12 sections represent the zodiac wheel. And the zodiac wheel, the signs are always in the same order. Starts with Aries, ends with Pisces. And that order will not change, but the positioning of the zodiac changes based on the moment that you're born. You're a Scorpio. You're like a Scorpio like me. So the sun is in Scorpio. So that is a starting point for you. And so you're like, but where does Aquarius come into this? Well, you have to count out. And maybe this is where you need to know a little bit more astrology. But if Scorpio is we're starting with Scorpio, how many signs do we have to count out before we reach Aquarius? 4. It goes Scorpio, number 1. It goes, Sagittarius, number 2, Capricorn, 3, Aquarius, 4. And so Aquarius is Scorpio's 4th sign. And so Aquarius governs the 4th house. You're getting a little bit of an astrology lesson. And the 4th house in astrology is home, it's family, it's roots, foundation, it's past, it's memory, it's ancestors, it's mom and dad. And so that's where you're just like, wait a second, but I thought I was just a Scorpio. But no, you have all the zodiac to live through. And that's why my favorite planet, and maybe your favorite planet by now, Saturn, will spend 3 years successively going through each of the 12 zodiac signs over the course of 30 years. And that's why our life will have these major 3-year chapters, because Saturn goes from each of the 12 signs, goes from each of the different parts of our astrology wheel. So that's, maybe a little bit of more that you were thinking that we were going to do today, but that's, my answer to the comments about, wait a second, how is Pluto and Aquarius relevant to me? How is Aquarius season relevant to me? It's all relevant. So the question is, and this is something that when we go through each of the 12 zodiac signs, the question is, what does Aquarius govern in your life? Is it your relationship sign? Is it your career sign? Is it your sign of health and wellness? Is it a sign that actually talks about your internal life, your emotional life, your spiritual life? And so that's for you to discover, because that area has a lot of focus right now. And maybe as a result, if Aquarius is your career sign, in the case for Taurus or Taurus rising, then there's a lot of things happening in either your professional life or your sense of direction or your sense of duties and responsibilities. And that part is specific to you, but there's different times that we live. We have this collective time that we're all living here on planet Earth. And Aquarius as a sign and an archetype is like, don't forget about the collective. Don't forget that we're actually one of many. There's nearly 8 billion people on this planet. So we're all part of something, even if it's a community or a town or a nation or a continent or a planet. And so that's where Aquarius really zooms us out to the bigger picture. So to go back to Pluto went into, it is as if Pluto, I mean, this is a whole thing about sidereal astrology, but in tropical astrology, I'm getting a little technical, Pluto is now in alignment with the sign of Aquarius. This will be the next 20 years. And so what is Pluto? Well, Pluto is very different than the sun. The sun is the self, the ego. We all know the sun. It's easy to track the sun. But Pluto is a modern planet. It was discovered in, I think, 1930. So that's not even 100 years, barely. It's a planet that talks about evolutionary experiences, meaning we need to grow and evolve psychologically, emotionally, spiritually. We need to transform. And we live in a time where we don't have the luxury to be the same person that we were a year ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. That's a whole other topic for another time. And so with Pluto, you're leaving a Capricorn where it went into Capricorn in 2008. It takes that energy of transformation and evolution and restructuring, and it brings it to now Aquarius. So the collective experience is now, as a collective, as a world experience, we need to transform society, humanity, social issues, social causes, systems, networks. Aquarius is also the systems. It's like engineering. It's how things flow. It's the flow of groups and ideas. It's the fabric that connects us all. And so something about this larger archetype will begin to shift and transform over a 20-year period. And you're like, 20 years. But right now we're in that hinge, we're in that overlap between something old and something new. And maybe we haven't quite gotten a line on Pluto and Aquarius. Or maybe we've gotten a little glimpse of Pluto and Aquarius. But now with personal planets going into Aquarius, so Mercury last week on February 5th, then this week Mars goes into Aquarius on the 13th, Venus in Aquarius on the 16th. It's not an abstract idea anymore. It's now something that is personal or lived. So it's for you to see, where do you start to see the push, the change, the shift in the winds, the inner desire or the external desire to transform something. Maybe it's not so obvious right now. That's the beauty of astrology, is that things make more sense in hindsight. But that's just is what it is. So, related but unrelated, my website's not working. I'm in the middle, I thought this was done with, I'm in the middle of a migration. And I'm saying that not just from a technical standpoint and a practical standpoint, because I get many messages I woke up to many messages from you all on Monday morning saying that you couldn't get, error establishing a database. And I'm like, geez, not again. But the deeper symbology of this migration, and maybe migration is a word that is somewhere in the Pluto and Aquarius archetype, is the need to create a different space. My old web host, I've been with that host since 2004. I can't even, the person that I was 20 years ago, doesn't even exist. I'm still living in DC, where I'm originally from. And I built that initial website, not Astrology. I was a graphic designer in those days, and a web designer to showcase my portfolio. So that web host kept going down. I kept having issues and PHP errors, and I was like, I need a new space, an updated space, and something that maybe symbolically represents a new space for me to go through or go into. So maybe I need to migrate you all with me into this new energetic space. And it's a space that's not just for my work as a writer, or even this space where I do these video presentations, or even where I teach, or I do client consultations and I work with you one-on-one. It's to bring us into a new space. And I'm using that as an example because maybe deep down inside, that's what Pluto and Aquarius is about, going into a new space. Aquarius is the shape of something, shape of ideas, shape of time, shape of how we live our lives. We don't always think about these shapes, but almost like cells of information. So that said, I'm using this again as a personal example because maybe that's something that's really at the heart and the core of Pluto and Aquarius. I want to migrate my email list because the current provider is now way more expensive. It doesn't even make sense. So there has these different layers to it, and maybe my personal desire to make all these different migrations and to change service providers is just symbolic of how I'm living Pluto and Aquarius. So it's just for you to start to see, where do you feel that need to change systems, upgrade systems, do things differently, think about things differently. Aquarius is a very mental and intellectual sign, but of course we have the collective experience, which is to be revealed. It's still unfolding. We got 20 more years of Pluto and Aquarius. This is a little bit of a tangent, but it was something that I was thinking about when I was on the new moon. I finally got around to watching the Oppenheimer movie, and I actually really liked it. But there's a lot of Aquarian archetypes in that movie, the Oppenheimer movie. Probably not the Aquarian archetypes that we typically think about when we think about Aquarius and sort of peace and love, and it's all going to work out. But that's a really deep look at sometimes even the darker side, the lack of humanity with Aquarius. So anyway, tangent. So we've got a lot to talk about. We've been talking about spaces, we've been talking about shapes, we've been talking about energy, we've been talking about migration and needing to get into new spaces because Pluto is now in Aquarius. And so let's jump into the astrology of this week, because the week of February 12th through 18th, 2024, because on February 13th, Mars goes into Aquarius. Now, Mars goes into Aquarius every 2 years, so that's not a big deal. Mars is power, drive, motivation, action. It's an instigator. It can be aggressive. It can be a catalyst. It can be a spark. We need Mars, and we have our own Mars. We have our own relationship, not just with the planet Mars in our astrology, but Mars as an archetype. How do we take action? How do we move forward? How do we lead? So that said, Mars going to Aquarius, that energy of action and drive, now gets pointed towards a sign that's not about the personal. It's about the collective. And how do we take our actions? We put it towards a cause, an issue, something humanitarian in nature. For some people, Aquarius is politics, or maybe it's systems, looking at the different systems that run your life. Also, there's a sense of equity and justice that's part of the Aquarius archetype. But Mars joins Pluto. And so Mars is meeting up with a planet that we really haven't fully sat down with and checked in with. And so the question is, how does this energy shape our week? And how are the seeds or the experiences that we're having this week, last week, next week, part of a bigger story that has yet to unfold? Because that story will take us over the next 2 decades. I think I said this last week, or at least I said it to somebody else. I don't know why people do friend request me for a reading thing while I'm doing this live. Please report them for spam. But anyway, let me get my thought back. Maybe I can ban this person. That would be fun. But anyway, get my thought back. Now I lost my thought. But anyway, so this week, with Mars going into Aquarius, this is our first big taste of Pluto in Aquarius. And this is what I was saying, is like last week, or maybe it was someplace else that I wrote this, is that the seeds of the next 20 years are being planted now. And I know that's a big statement, but we're really fresh into Pluto and Aquarius. So Mars going into Aquarius on the 13th, it makes the conjunction with Pluto on the 14th. Probably not the Valentine's Day vibe you were looking for, but sometimes, it's not the Valentine's Day we want, it's the Valentine's Day we need. But that said, it's a pretty intense energy, so how are you going to use it? What sort of reformation and transformation needs to happen in your life? Do you need to migrate from something old, an old system, an old space, an old network that just no longer supports you or is no longer is in alignment? It's like a different operating system, and it's time to go into something new. Mars and Pluto typically is a very physical energy, although Aquarius is not a very physical sign. But that said, Aquarius, and this is why I was thinking about Oppenheimer when I was Aquarius, and when I was watching the Oppenheimer movie, Aquarius is part of something called the fixed cross, the fixed signs. And so Aquarius and Taurus, and we will have a moon in Taurus on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Leo and Scorpio, these are the signs of matter and manifestation. They deal with our physical world, even though Aquarius is not necessarily a physical, tangible sign. It's air sign. It's about social networks. It's about groups. It's about alliances. It's about big ideals, for example, and systems and networks. So it's sort of to see how this is shaping your physical life this week. And then we get into the 16th of February, and Venus joins Mars and Pluto in Aquarius. And so Venus is our final personal planet to arrive in Aquarius. And so Venus is what we love, what we value, what we need to invest time and money in, but it's also a very relational sign. It teaches us how to connect and to relate and to interact with people. So Venus will meet up with Pluto, and so something about what we value, how we relate to one another may need to transform, may need to migrate, may need an upgrade. For example, Venus, and this is a little bit of a bigger conversation, but I want to plant the seed, and I've been seeing it, I think, the past few weeks. Venus is a big player in the astrology right now because it's part of the eclipses. On March 25th, which is 5 weeks away, or if not, is the first eclipse, which will be a lunar eclipse in Libra at 5 degrees. And so Venus governs the south node. There's this whole, I say that we're governed because we have this whole idea in astrology. Astrology is a system. It's a system of time, a system of understanding time and how time unfolds, that you can do predictive work from that time. Astrology isn't just a look at personality and romantic compatibilities. It's so much deeper. For me, it's like engineering. That's why I love it. But that said, Venus governs the south node because Venus rules Libra. So we are 5 weeks away from our first eclipse, and maybe that Venus conjunct Pluto is something to watch, just like Mars conjunct Pluto is something to watch because Mars governs the north node. And we will have a solar eclipse in Aries on April 8th. And, with the energy of the nodes activated, although being focused in Aquarius, this might be a pivotal week. This might be a week where the seeds, not just the next 20 years, but the seeds of the eclipses to come in the next 5, 6, 7, 8 weeks are coming in February. That's the funny thing about eclipses, is that we can see them in advance of the actual eclipse. So big things happening this week. We also have the first quarter moon. So that first quarter moon is around the 16th, 15th, 16th. And so we will see, what is this new moon period, this Aquarius new moon period about, because that new moon had a very tight square to Uranus. And so even though I've been speaking a lot about Pluto energy in our time today, You can't forget that Uranus is in Taurus, fixed sign, and this might be a week that shakes things up. It might transform. It might turn us in a different direction, or not. We will see. But I know it's Valentine's week, but it just seems like a lot of the systems and structures are changing and transforming right now. And to see, where do you see, or to observe at least, where do you see a pole shift in your life? Where is it moving from one place or another? Was the energy concentrated in one place? Now it's like going to another place. Maybe like, I have no idea what you're talking about. Just something to think about. So let's look at each of the 12 zodiac signs, starting with Aries. Aries, so big week for you. Mars is your planet, and as you've been hearing me talk about, it's been wrapping up its time in Capricorn. It's been in Capricorn since January 4th. So this has been a time that's been about duties, responsibilities, career, really, getting in alignment with where you want to take your life, although making sure that the direction of your life is actually in alignment with some sort of deeper spiritual value. That said, Mars changes signs this week and it goes into Aquarius. So Aquarius is something called your 11th sign. It talks about friends, your friends, your community, but it gets into bigger, broader strokes in your life. Where do you belong? Not just who are your friends, but who are your allies? Who are the people that you are connected with? What are the groups that you're involved in? Like, do you have a sense of this social awareness or even awareness of the world around you? Of course, every Aries is going to live this time differently. Mars almost immediately meets up with Pluto, and so this is a very intense energy. Sit and feel. How are you feeling? Are you feeling restless? Do you feel like you're ready to start something, transform something? Do you have all this energy that needs to be put towards something? Do so, because you're an Aries, and Aries needs like a physical outlet, but put it towards something that really is setting you up for the future, and that feels very much in alignment with your values, where you want to take your life, your relationship with the collective, society, humanity, social issues, social causes. But of course, every Aries is going to live it differently. You do have Venus, which is a relationship planet for you, also going into Aquarius this week and meeting up with Pluto. It might be shaking the axis of your life a little bit. All of this is presaging the eclipses to come at the end of March and April. It is a very dynamic year for you, Aries, a time of new beginnings, a time of going off in new directions, but also a time that really focuses on relationships as a larger topic. Taurus, so Venus is your planet, and it's making a change from Capricorn to Aquarius this week. And when it goes into Aquarius, that's a big deal. It does that on the 16th because it's not just going into something called your 10th sign. So Aquarius is Taurus's sign of career. It's the 10th sign. It's like the highest sign in your personal astrology. It's the title after your name. It's your goals. It's your ambitions. And so you go into a 3-4 week period where you're going to be asked to take on more duties and responsibilities. You feel more of a desire to be out there into the world and to maybe be more ambitious, to focus on your professional life, your professional goals and ambitions. I'll say that fast 3 times. But the question is, now Pluto is here. And Pluto will spend 20 years in your professional sign, your career sign. And that's a long time for us to wrap our heads around. And so the seeds of this week are really threads that are taking you into the next 2 decades. Every Taurus is going to, of course, live this time differently. But this could be the start of a major axis shift or tectonic shift or seismic shift in your professional life. Maybe you've been going one way and it's time to go another. Maybe you're like, I have no idea what you're talking about, Katie. Maybe that's something that's not even on your radar at the moment. Maybe it's something that you will start to feel, and maybe it's something different. Maybe your relationship with power and being able to go after your desires or go after your ambitions is something that needs to profoundly transform. but it's a very powerful week for you. It's a week that touches on both your professional life and you and relationships and professional relationships, and really taking a next big step up in your life. Gemini, Mercury is your planet. So for you, Mercury is breezing through your 9th sign. I think it's next week or the week after Mercury will go into Pisces, but for now it's in the 9th. The 9th is about exploration, it's about journeys, it's about travel, it's also about education, and maybe you're taking more classes, maybe there's more of a curiosity about the world. But it's not just education, it's a type of space, the 9th sign, where we need to have a strong opinion about something, or maybe even develop an opinion, or maybe to know what we believe in and what we stand for. There may even be this week elements around truth and meaning. That's the thing, Gemini, you now have Pluto in Aquarius, your 9th sign, for the next 20 years. So Aquarius governs how you see the world, whether you see the world through education, going back to school or getting a higher degree or reading every book that you could get your hands on, a philosophy. It also governs sort of these bigger philosophical questions around truth and meaning and faith and belief. It also governs going out into the world and seeing the world and traveling. So that's an area that you will have different relationships with these themes and archetypes over the next 2 decades. But as I was saying in my introduction, the seeds of the next 20 years are being planted right now. Last week may have been a little bit of an intense introduction to Pluto's energy because Mercury went into Aquarius and made a conjunction to Pluto. Pluto is a very black and white planet. It's like you leave the past behind. There's no going forward, or there's a need to do a deep examination to look at the hidden parts of ourselves, or maybe the hidden parts about belief and faith and truth. That said, Venus and Mars are joining the space. So surface level, maybe you're hopping on a plane and you're going for a journey, or traveling to another country. Maybe you have a strong sense of right and wrong over the coming weeks, or a sense of justice and equity and fairness, or maybe you need to publish a book, get your ideas out there, really share with the world what do you believe in and what do you stand for. Cancer, the moon is your planet, and it's going from Aries, which is your career sign, all the way through Taurus, and then I think it closes out the week, what's after Taurus? Leo, by the end of the week. So this is a week that is sort of taking you from career and community, but also bringing you into the quiet spaces for you to rest and relax before the sense of new beginnings with next week when the moon goes into Cancer. That said, it is Aquarius season, and Aquarius for you is something called your 8th sign. And it's hard to say what the next 20 years will be like because it's such a macro time. It's very different than, say, 2020 to 2023 when you had Saturn also in the 8th sign. Saturn's moved on. Saturn's in the 9th right now. But with Pluto there, it's a lot of, I think building off of a lot of the deep work that you did over the past 3 years when Saturn was there. The deeper emotional digging, themes around power, trust, control, rebirth, transformation, intimacy, vulnerability. The 8th is where the small s self has to become, stripped down so it can become the capital S self. Who are you? We are not our past. We are not our trauma. We are not all these things that we hold on to emotionally. And so the 8th gives us the space to actually let that stuff go and to make the transformation, because the person that comes out of the 8th is fully transformed. And there's a lot of deep wisdom and knowledge in the 8th. So that said, Aquarius season, and this is the first time it's been Aquarius season without Saturn in Aquarius for the past few years, but This is a time for you to do a lot of deeper emotional digging, looking within yourself, and you're like, I'm so over this. I know. But Mercury is also in your 8th. Venus goes into the 8th on the 16th. Mars goes into the 8th on the 13th. So it's just a lot of 8th house energy. How do you use this energy? Pardon me, I'm a Scorpio. What needs to die in your life right now? And I know that that's a big statement. And I know you're like, okay, I don't like you anymore, Katie. Yeah, more people just, please report these people that just keep spamming my comments. But what needs to die right now? What needs to transform? What have you been holding on to emotionally and spiritually? And so what needs to let go so that there can be a process so that new life can come in? That said, this new moon and even Mars and Venus going into the 8th will dig into themes around intimacy and vulnerability and trust, maybe even themes around partnership and philosophy and like, what do I believe in, and trying to find a partner or people that are really like-minded with you. Leo, so it is a big week for you. And we've been talking about this. Pluto is now in your 7th sign of relationships, because Aquarius is Leo's 7th sign. You count out and you get 7 signs to reach Aquarius. This is the next 20 years. And I know you're like, holy moly, 20 years, that's a long time, but it's the start of something. And we need the personal planets. We didn't have this last year when Pluto dipped into Aquarius from March to June. We need the personal planets, Mercury, Mars, and Venus, to really activate this energy. Now, we had a new moon on the 9th, just a few days ago. So this is a 4-week period where the lens is on relationship, connection, and socialization. Relationships come in a lot of different forms. We are human beings. We need connection. We need to socialize. And so that's the umbrella theme. Of course, this may connect to intimate relationships and partnerships at this time. That said, Mars goes into this space, and Mars is a planet, a very powerful planet in your personal astrology. It governs home and family. And then Venus goes into space, and this actually is a career planet for you. So there's a lot of concentration in the sky happening on relationships at a moment. And it's for you to see, what is the story that is happening in your life right now? Where do you see, where can you sense the greater shifts, whether it's a shift in your axis, a shift in relationships, a shift in your priorities. The seeds of the next 20 years are being planted right now. And there's something about this week, maybe it's not evident right away, that is part of the greater story. And to see where are you getting feedback from the planets, and where are you getting feedback from the universe on what needs to change, transform, upgrade, migrate into something very new. Virgo, so Mercury is your planet. It's in Aquarius right now, and so Aquarius is your 6th sign. So we count out from Virgo and to reach Aquarius, and we get 6 signs. So that's the basic math. So Aquarius, what is the 6th sign? The 6th sign is one of the most real-world, down-to-earth places in our personal astrology chart. It talks about getting up, brushing our teeth, schedule, duties, responsibilities, health and hygiene, the stuff that really makes our day-to-day lives run. And maybe that doesn't sound very glamorous, but when we have no structure in our daily life, we have no routine, no schedule, no hygiene, no health and wellness, life has a hard time running. So that said, maybe this is a new moon period that's a systems check of your life. Keep in mind, Saturn went through this space, March 2020 to March 2023. And Saturn was really giving you more of a structured look at health and wellness in your life and the day-to-day responsibilities that you carry. So here comes Pluto, And how do you make lasting big transformations in the systems of your life? And maybe some of that is in direct response to Saturn showing you things from 2020 to 2023 around health and wellness and everything about your day-to-day life. Here comes, well, Mercury was last week. Mercury governs you, but here comes Mars and Venus. Mars is like, let's take action. So you may find that this is a week of action, setting forth new initiatives, new projects, tearing down old systems, putting new systems in place. It's going to be different for every Virgo. Virgos typically are very systems oriented, even if that system is messy. They know exactly how it's supposed to run. But the question is for you, Virgo, is this working for you? Because Pluto may be showing you exactly what is working and not working in your day-to-day life. Libra. So it's Aquarius season, and we have Venus about to go into Aquarius on the 16th. So it's wrapping up its time in Capricorn. And so Capricorn for you governs, there's that word again, governs home and family and roots and foundations for you. It's an area that over the last 16 years, you had to do a lot of deep digging around Pluto in Capricorn. But Pluto's moved on, and for the next 20 years, I know, you're going to be doing a deep digging of the self. So the question that I'm going to keep coming back to with you is, who are you? Because with Pluto now in Aquarius, it's very possible that the version of self that you thought you were at the start of 2023 and 4 is not who you truly are. And if you're like, what are you talking about? I know who I am. Well, who we are is often a construct. It's a construct of memory and past and traumas and family and social conditioning, but that's not who we are. It's for us to find what is deep down inside of each and every one of us. So Aquarius season, the Aquarius new moon of February 9th, Mercury in Aquarius, now Mars and Venus. Venus is you. It's your ruling planet. Oh, of course, somebody's in the hall. My dog's gonna bark. Sorry about that. So Venus is now, will be there too. And so it's going to bring this larger question to the forefront. And maybe it's not that question. Maybe you'll see how that question reflects something personal in your life, whether it's self, whether it's creativity, whether it's how you take yourself and take your talents seriously. But while Pluto will be there for the next 20 years, Mars and Venus, Mars will be there for 6 weeks, Venus will be there 3 to 4 weeks. So just a lot of concentration on self and how you express who you are and who you think you are. And that even extends to needing to look at self-destructive behavior, because sometimes we deny who we are, we deny ourselves, we deny our talents, gifts, and abilities. I need to thank my dog for alerting us to something, but that's where a lot of the big focus and the astrology is right now. So with, Mars is a relationship planet. It's also you, and then we have Venus is your planet. It's a bit of an intense week, and one that presages the eclipses to come on March 25th, but also April 8th. It is a very dynamic time to be a Libra, Pluto in Aquarius aside. This is more of a comment about the eclipses, and life is going to start to heat up over the coming weeks, which means life is going to start to get interesting, and we're going to see what this whole eclipse period is all about. Yeah, my dog was barking during Libra. Sorry about that, Libra. Scorpio. So Mars is your planet. This is a big week for you. Why? So Mars is moving from Capricorn, which is your third sign, voice, communication, how you think and listen and learn, and is going into Aquarius. Aquarius is Scorpio's fourth sign, because you count out to reach Aquarius and you only have to count out 4 signs. The fourth sign in anybody's chart, it talks about roots and foundation. It talks about home and family. And so Pluto going to Aquarius on January 20th is the start of a major shift in your life that may feel like a pole shift, an axis shift, a shift in your home environment, a shift in where you're planted, a shift in your relationship with family, memories, the past. The list goes on. It's not all of those things. It's maybe some of those things, but it's for you to start to feel that this is a monumental shift in your life. This is the only time you will have Pluto going through this part of your astrology. You'd have to live another 250 years, and as resilient as you are, Scorpio, that's not going to happen. So keep in mind that this is the start of some deep psychic, emotional, ancestral digging in your life. And it will manifest differently for every Scorpio depending on your lived experiences. So we just had the Aquarius new moon on February 9th. So on a practical level, the next 4 weeks, Aquarius, a new moon into the Pisces new moon, it's about your home environment. Whether you make a move, whether you're really focused on your home situation, you want to make changes, you want to clean things out, you need to reconnect with your family, it's duties and responsibilities with family, it's for you to see. So Mars going into Aquarius brings you face to face with an energy that will mark your life over the coming years. It is a rebirth, it is a transformation, it is a transmutation. And it's to see and to feel and to observe what is the story unfolding right now. Is it a migration? I'm saying that because it's the word that I've been using for myself and I'm a Scorpio. Or is it something else? Is it a systems upgrade? Is it a leaving the past behind? Venus is joining Mars and Pluto on the 16th and 17th, and Venus is a relationship planet. So this is not just about home and family and the household. This may also be about relationships and connections with other people or a primary partnership as well. All of this, in a way, presages the eclipses. The eclipses are no longer in Taurus and Scorpio like they were the past couple of years, but it is a time that is highlighting Aries for you as a health and wellness sign, your day-to-day life, how you take care of your body, and wait, that's not right. Yeah, that's right. And Libra for you is your 12th sign of spirituality, letting go, opening up. So it doesn't have the same, these eclipses don't have the same feel like the other ones, but it's also to look at the Pluto and Aquarius and Mars and Venus and Aquarius, and to get a line on some of the bigger shifts that are taking place in your life right now. Sagittarius, so Jupiter is your planet, and Jupiter is until the end of May of 2024, it's in Taurus. This continues to be, over the next couple of months, a time to focus on your day-to-day life, the systems that govern your day-to-day life, like getting organized, projects, health and wellness, focusing on diet, fitness, and nutrition, whatever is right for you. The thing that's a bit of a wild card is that Jupiter is in the same sign as Uranus, and Uranus has been there since 2018 and 2019. And so there's already been 4, 5, 6 years of making big changes in your day-to-day life. And it's very possible that your day-to-day life does not look as it did 3, 4, 5 years ago. It may be quite radically different. We will have a big conjunction of Jupiter and Uranus in April that is to come. We'll talk about that later. But that said, the Aquarius new moon that we just had, and then now Mars and Venus in Aquarius this week, puts the focus on voice. It's voice, communication, how you think and listen and learn. And it brings home this bigger story that over the next 10, 20 years, you're going to see some big changes in voice. It is to find the power of your voice, the power of how you think, the power of how you communicate, how you command your voice, and even if it is your voice, because very often, 9 times out of 10, the words coming out of our mouth are not our words. They are other people's words. We just sort of paired them. And so Pluto talks about the start of this deep process, this deeper digging. It could also even look at choices, the choices that affect our day-to-day life, the choices that can shift our life in a different direction. But this is a time when there's a lot of focus in the astrology at the moment on systems, and maybe you're trying to do a lot of rearranging in your life right now. But that said, we will have a lot more, this new moon that we had on the 9th, and then the moon is in Taurus this week. This could be a week that really also highlights that Jupiter and Taurus and a lot of the, let's say, reinventions and breakthroughs that are possible in 2024 for you. Capricorn, so Aquarius is your second sign. So we count out, and we only have to reach one sign before we get to Aquarius. And so there has been a shift away from, Pluto was in Capricorn for 16 years. It was a big deal for Capricorn over the last 15 years and the changes that it enacted. And now Pluto is in your money sign. So Aquarius is your money sign. It's how you earn a living. It's the money in the bank. It's your sense of material stability and security. And so the bigger question that doesn't have an answer, and I think it's very particular to each Capricorn that's listening, is what is your relationship with the material world? Is the material world something that you don't even think about? Meaning it's there, it's important, and you don't think about anything else. It's not to say you're materialistic, or maybe something needs to shift with your relationship to the material world. Maybe you need to spend differently, earn a living differently, or shift your values differently. It's hard to say. Again, it's specific for every Capricorn, but we had the Aquarius new moon on February 9th. That was a very powerful new moon that gives us some insight about these bigger changes in money, income, finance, property, assets that we will see over the coming years. Saturn was in this part of your astrology, and Saturn governs you because you're a Capricorn. Saturn's your planet from March of 2020 to March of 2023. And so Saturn was in a way in advance of Pluto, laying some of the groundwork for the bigger financial and material and value changes that will happen this year, next year, and over the coming years. Mars and Venus, which are two major players in your personal astrology, Mars is your sign of home and family. Venus is your is your planet of career. They are meeting up with Pluto this week, and so this is a week that has a possible. Oh, I can't speak English. This is a week that possibly can shift something. It can be a turning point, a pivot, a change of axis. The Venus and Mars govern the eclipses to come in March and April. They govern the North Node, South Node, which are in career and the home space. So a lot could be changing this week, and it's in a way talks about the bigger changes that will take you over the next 20 years. Aquarius, it is an interesting time to be an Aquarius at the moment. It's not just because it's your birthday, as you've been hearing me say quite frequently. Pluto is now in Aquarius. Yes, Pluto will dip back into Capricorn from September 1st to November 19th, but for all intents and purposes, Pluto is in Aquarius. Hey, you're an Aquarius, or you're an Aquarius rising. Pluto talks about a major evolutionary seismic shift in your life, one that the seeds of the next 20 years are being planted right now. Maybe it's obvious to see what's going on in your life, and you can sort of see how that is hinting at a bigger change, or maybe you're like, Katie, I have no idea what you're talking about, but there's something that's being planted right now. This is the only time in your life you will have Pluto in Aquarius for 23, 2024, all the way, I think it's till 2048. I can't remember 2020, whatever, 20 years from now. And so the person you are now, the life that you have now, will begin to shift. It has to shift. That's the thing about Pluto. It talks about non-negotiable transformations. I know that's not the word that you want to hear, but I got to do justice to Pluto. It's like Pluto has walked across the front doorstep of your life, and it's like, I'm here to rip everything out, make some changes, tear everything down, build things back up. Is for you to see how that statement is true or not for you. Mars and Venus are the activators. They are going into Aquarius. Mars goes into Aquarius on the 13th. Venus goes into Aquarius on the 16th. Venus is your sign of home and family, of roots and foundation. Mars is a career planet. So it's really hitting on a lot of big points. This week, it could be a turning point week. It could be a week that talks about your living situation, your home environment, family. It could be a week that echoes some of the bigger changes that have happened in your home environment in the past 4 or 5 years. It could be a change in your career, a change in your direction, a change with your duties and responsibilities. It's going to be very particular to each and every one of you. That's the thing about Pluto. It's not one size fits all astrology. It's for us to find, that's why I often say observe, to find where's the thread in your life right now. Where's the story unfolding? But that said, it's your birthday season. Happy birthday. If your birthday was on the 9th or the 10th, it is a powerful new year for you. If it is your birthday this week, you have Mars and Venus and Pluto really helping you to make sure that the coming year is a time of powerful transformations, reinventions, and even transmutations. Finally, Pisces. So Pisces, Jupiter is your planet. It's got a few more months left of its time in Taurus. And then at the end of May of 2024, it will go into Gemini. And you will find, and I think I said this last week, I will keep saying it, that the second half of 2024 is very different than the first half of 2024. Right now, a lot of the focus, some of the focus, not all of the focus, is happening in communication, writing, speaking, learning, traveling, voice, whether it's voice as more of an abstract concept or actually using your voice more. It may be a very busy time in your life, and one especially as we get into April when Jupiter lines up with Uranus. You are on the cusp of a reinvention, but we will come back to that in a later video. That said, Aquarius is your 12th sign, so we got to count out 12 signs before we reach Aquarius. Aquarius is the sign before Pisces, so the 12th sign brings us to the end of your personal zodiac. You know, for you, everything starts with Pisces, whether you're Pisces sun or Pisces rising. So with everything, Mercury is there, Venus will be there, Mars will be there, the sun is there, Pluto is there. There's a lot of activity in a space that you don't typically see, because the 12th is the unconscious. It's your blind spots, but it's also your internal, it's like your interiority, meaning it's like your internal life, how you sort of sit with yourself and discover yourself, but it's also spirituality. With Pluto now in Aquarius and then now Mars and Venus joining, it's the bigger transformations are happening in a space that you might not be able to see. Or maybe you can sense it. Maybe you're meditating more, maybe you're having an existential crisis, maybe you need to spend more time alone, maybe you need to really sort your stuff out, maybe you need to take the endings of the 12th sign and let go of an attachment, addiction, something of the world that really holds you back. But it's a transition time for you, and one where you need to spend some time resting and recuperating, recharging your batteries, looking within, nourishing your spirituality, because that's one of the ways in which you can really connect with the energies of the 12th, for example. So, bit of a quiet time for you, but one that presages a bigger internal spiritual shift that will play out over the coming 2 decades. So, there you go. So I appreciate you all. Thank you. I'm sorry my website is down, but we are migrating. We're all migrating together. We're migrating into a different energetic space for us to do our work together, for us to be client and relationship together. So that said, don't go to my website right now, but you can follow me online at Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Spotify. I'm on YouTube. And even if you are a client, you can still book with me. You just can't do it directly through my website. You just have to do it elsewhere. But just contact me. We'll get you on my calendar. So I love working with people, and we will hopefully be back online next week. So I again appreciate each and every one of you. Have a wonderful week. Happy Valentine's Day. And let's get a deeper kind of feel and taste of what Pluto in Aquarius is about this week. So until then, take care. Bye-bye.